definition of I is the square root of -1. And we said I squared is what?
-1.
-1, right? So this is what complex numbers are. Now, we know what I is and I squared is. But in a worksheet, the next thing they're asking us is what is I to the 18th power? And what was the other question they asked us? What is I to the, what, how many? 60th power. Right, we're like, what are these? And again, what's I to the 500th power? How do you find out what I's are? So this is kind of maybe a little bit different way of what you might see if you Googled it or whatnot. The way that I like to understand it is I like to make a clock. So here's I, and then I'm going to make a clock here, and I'm going to say I squared is equal to -1, right? I'm going to draw this clock down to 6 o'clock, so that's 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And then I'm going to have I cubed is equal to something. I'm going to figure what that is. And then I'm going to have I to the 4th is equal to something, and then it's going to go back. So one of the cool things about a clock is that, like, our time clock goes to 12, right? So we call that mod 12. Like after 12 o'clock, it goes back to 1, 2, and it just keeps going. Of course, I know some of you guys are veterans. You guys use Army time, right? Where you guys have 23, like the hour 23, the hour 14, whatnot. So you guys use the whole 24 hours, whereas normal clocks will only do 12. So here, the I is also a clock, meaning that it repeats itself. The value of I's with the exponents repeats itself with how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? We call this mod 4, meaning every fourth exponent, it'll repeat itself. So what are these values? So I is this, right? I squared is -1 given, right? Because if you square this, you get -1. Now I to the 3rd. So I'm going to derive it just so you can see how we get I to the 3rd. I to the 3rd you can get I to the 3rd by saying I squared times I to the 1st power. Do you guys agree with me? I squared times I is I to the 3rd. The laws of the product rule of exponents, you add the exponents, you get I 3rd. But what is I squared? -1. And I is just I. So what's -1 times I? -1i, or just -I, right? So -1 times I is just -I. So I to the 3rd is equivalent to I squared is -1, I is I, right? Is equivalent to -I. So I to the 3rd is equivalent to -I. Okay. I to the 4th. How can I get I to the 4th using what I already know here? How can I rewrite I to the 4th?
I squared times I squared.
Great, I squared times I squared. Right, because if you add the exponents, you get I to the 4th. What is I squared?
-1.
-1 times I squared again. What's -1 times -1?
1.
+1, just 1, great. So I to the 4th is equivalent to 1. Okay, so now let's do I to the 5th. And you're going to wonder, is she going to keep going on and on? No, I'm not going to keep going on and on. But I just want to show you a pattern, right? So I to the 5th here, given what I have here, how can I get I to the 5th? What product can I make? I to what power?
4.
I to the 4th times what?
I.
Okay. Or you get to do I to the 3rd times I to the 2nd, right? Either one will give you the same thing. What is I to the 4th? 1. What is I? I. We sound so narcissistic, don't we? I. What's 1 times I? 1i, or just I. Right? So I to the 5th belongs here as well. So this is also equivalent. This is also I to the 5th would go here as well. Let's humor me for a little bit longer. I to the 6th, we're going to expect it. So from what I'm telling you, because I already told you the end story, I gave away the ending that it repeats, right? So what can we expect I to the 6th to be? negative 1. Let's check. What are two values of I so I can multiply to give me I to the 6th?
I4 and I2.
Okay, I4 and I2, or you could do I5 and I1, or I3 and I3. It doesn't matter which one. What is I4?
1.
1. What is I squared? Negative 1, right? Here's 1 and negative 1. What's 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. Holy smokers. It's right here, right? So here's I5, but also I6 is here. So we're gonna, this can go on and on and on. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, etc.
So it's a pattern.
So it's a pattern. Instead of taking these steps, like if I was teaching my elementary school kids, I would say I to the 18th, and I would say go around the circle 18 steps and find your answer, right? So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? So we know that I to the 18th is going to equal to negative 1 because we went around the circle to 18 steps. But like Daryl said, hey, there's 4. It repeats after every 4. So one of the things we could do is we could divide by 4 as a shortcut. Because if I said I to the 60, I really hope you're not sitting there during your exam and say, what is that person doing? They're counting to 60. Or what if, God forbid, I put I to 600, right? You'll be sitting there all day counting. So the more advanced way and the shortcut way and the way where we see the pattern is we're going to divide. So here, I'm going to show you guys I to the 18th. So here, I to the 18th, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that number by 4 because it repeats after every 4. So I'm going to take that number and I'm going to divide it by 4. What's 18 divided by 4? What whole number do I get first?
4.
4 with a remainder of 2, right? And you can always check that. 4 times 4 will give me 16. And then I have to take 2 extra steps, or I have to add 2 more to get me 18. So what this means is that I'm going to go around the circle 4 times. And once I complete the 4th round, I always end up here. This is where I end up whenever I complete a round. And then I take, so this whole number, this is like, we don't care about that whole number. It just means that you're just going around the circle and you end up here, whatever the whole number is. But the remainder is a thing that's going to give me the answer. The remainder is saying, okay, after I'm done with that, I'm going to take 2 extra steps. Uno, dos. So that's where it tells me, okay, I have to take 2 extra steps because I went around here, and that got me to 16. So 17, 18. So I have 2 more extra steps. So that's why it's negative 1. So let's look at I to the 60 without tapping it. Ma'am, did you have a question?
So most calculator, when you divide, it gives you a decimal instead. So how would you do that?
So right, if it gives you a decimal, so let's take a look at this. So you don't use a calculator, right? So here, I to the 60th power, I'm going to take the number 60. I'm going to divide it by 4. Ma'am, when you divide it by 4, what do you get? Or did anyone with 60 divide? I'm sorry? 15. It's a whole number, right? Is there any remainder? No remainder. So if it's a whole number, where do you think it ended off at? 1. So remember, a whole round goes around here. And then this will be the remainder. So maybe I should write this down here. Do I agree? Yes. I'm going to write down that this is going to be remainder 1. So you're going to have a remainder of 1 here. You have a remainder of 2 here. This is your answer when you have a remainder of 2. This is your answer when you get the remainder of 3. You'll never have a remainder of 4, because a remainder of 4 means that it divided into evenly. So this is a remainder of 0 when there's no remainders. Right? So here in this problem, 60 divided by 4 is 15. 15 doesn't matter, it just means it just went around the circle 15 times. No remainders means you landed here, so your answer is 1. Right. So I to the 60th is equal to 1. I asked you, what is I to the 80? 82. I to the 82. So I know you had said if I plug it into my calculator, I get a decimal number, right?
-1.
So Daryl, your way says -1, right? So here I get, if you plug into your calculator, right? If you do 82 divided by 4, you get 20.5, right? 20.5, you're like, well, what's the remainder? I want to change this to 20 remainder 1, 2, or 3.
-2.
Well, if you're not sure, what you do is you take the 20 times 4 is what? 80. So therefore, how many more do you need? How many more steps? Remainder 2, right? So if you're not sure how to convert a decimal to a remainder, you just take that number, multiply it by the denominator, and ask how many more steps you need to go. So here the answer would be, how about what if I said I to the 155? This answer. Or what do you guys think it is? What is I to the 155?
Why?
What is it? Negative I? Question mark? I hear that as a question mark. So what do we do to find out the answer? We take the 155, we divide it by
4.
4. What do you get when you plug that into your calculator?
38.75.
I'm sorry?
38.75.
38.75, right?
It's remainder 3.
So that's a remainder of 3. Yeah, you can think of 0.75 as like 3/4, right? Which is remainder 3. However way you want to think of it. Or you can say, what's 38 times 4? Plug 38 times 4 in your calculator. 38 times 4 is... 38 times 4 gives me 152. 38 times 4 gives me 152. How many more do I need to get to 155? I need 3 more. So it's really 38 remainder of 3. So therefore, from here I take 1, 2, 3. So my answer is negative I. Is that what you guys said? You sure did. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about this?